सबैजनालाई स्वागत छ। आज पनि हामी BCA को ओपी डाटा भन्दा पनि यो ओओपी इन जाभाको पढ्नेछौँ। हिजो हामीले युनिट 1 र 2 पढेका थियौँ भने आज हामी 3 र 4 पढ्नेछौँ। युनिट 3 जाभा प्रोग्रामिङ अनि क्लास मेथड and interface. Develop the code that declare the class interface and enum and include the appropriate use of the package. An important statement, develop the code that declare the interface and interface develop the code that objective मा छ अनि develop the code एउटा कोड विकास गर्नेले that जसले चाहिँ त्यसलाई चाहिँ कार्यान्वयन ल्याउँछ अनि एक्सटेन्ड बढाउँछ वान अर मोर इन्टरफेस एकभन्दा बढी डेभलप द कोड द्याट डिक्लेयर द एक्सट्र्याक्ट क्लास उसले चाहिँ एक्सट्र्याक्ट क्लास डिक्लेयर गर्न सक्छ अनि उसले चाहिँ एक्सट्र्याक्ट क्लासलाई पनि बढाउन सक्छ अब्जेक्टिभ डेभलप द कोड द्याट डिक्लेयर्स बोथ static and non-static method develop the code that declares use the variable length argument list and develop the constructor for one or more of the class given class or given a class declaration determine if the default constructor will be created and so if determine the behavior of that constructor given a nested or the non-nested class listing write a code to instantiate the class method and interface using method working with the class and object understanding the enums inheritance writing and invoking the constructor writing and using the interface using method represents operation on the data and also hold the logic to determine the those operation using method offer two main advantage a method may be executed call repeatedly from a different point in the program and decrease the program size the effort to maintain the code and the plurality for an error method helps to keep the program logically segmented or modularize, less error-prone and easier to maintain. Defining a class or method is a self-contained block of the code that perform the specific operation on the data by using the sum logic method declaration name parameter argument return type ss modifier defining a method the syntax for writing a method in the java modifier return type method name parameters body of the method the code statement goes here public int square int number return number int my number is equal to the static method in the variable the static method and the variable are shared by all the instance of the class the static modifier may be applied to a variable or method in the block of the code inside the method because of static element of the class is visible to all the instance of the class if one instance make a change to it all the instance see the change. Class static example static int static counter int counter static example static counter plus plus class run static example public class void main string static example static example system dot out print in set that static counter print dot out print in set to static counter system out dot print in system out dot print in static example static counter 100 system out dot print in set static counter print out the print value of static counter for SE2 static counter the static method and the variable the static variable is initialized when a class is loaded where the instance variable is initialized when the instance of the class is created the static method also begins. It can be called even before a single instance of the class exists. A static method can only access the static member of the class. The static code block a class can also have a static code block outside any method. The code block does not belong to any method, but only to the class executed before the class is instantiated even before the method main is called the runtime example class static code example static int counter static counter plus plus system dot out print in static code block counter static code example system dot out print in constructor counter public static run static code example public static void main string static code example SCC new static code example system dot out print in main counter SCC method with a variable number of the parameter the rule to define the Variable length parameter, there must be only one length in the parameter list. If there are the individual parameter in addition to the list, the variable length parameter list must appear last inside the parenthesis of the method. The variable length parameter, it consists of type followed by the three dot in the name bearing the text Java import Java of my class public void print stub string greet int value for int I b print value system dot out print I and greet class practice public static void main string my class print stuff hello print stuff hey yamc print stuff hey yo Java beans are naming the standard for the method. The Java bean is a special kind of Java class that is defined by the following certain rules. The private variable property can only be accessed through the getter in the setter method. The getter in the setter method must be in the public so that anyone who uses the bean can invoke them. The setter method must have the void return type and must have a parameter that represents the type of the corresponding property. A greater method does not have any parameter and its return type matches the argument type of the corresponding setter method. Java beans naming the standard for the method public class score bin private double main score getter method for the property main score double public double get main score return main score setter method to set the value of the property main score public void main score double score main score get main score and the set main score correspond the variable property class method and interface using method using with the class in the object understanding the enums inheritance writing and invoking the constructor writing and using the inheritance working with the class and the object of class is a template that contain the data variables in the method that operate on the those variables following the same logic class member variable represent the state of an object method constituted behavior defining the class the general syntax modifier class name specify the name of the class is the keyword modifier specify the some characteristic of the class ss modifier private protected default in the public other modifier abstract final in the script defining the classroom private string room number private in total seat 60 private static in total room 0 void set room number string rn room number rn string get room number return room number void set total seat in seat total seat in get total seat return total seat and creating a object class name variable name new class constructor variable name the name of the object reference that will refer to the object that you want to create a class name the name of an existing class constructor or constructor of the class the right side of the equation create the object of the class specified by the class name with the new operator and assign to it a variable name point to it creating object using example classroom manager public static void main args classroom room 1 new classroom room 1 set room number room 1 set total seat system out dot print in room number room get room number system dot in print seat total number room 1 get total seat listed class allow you to define the class like the variable or the method inside the top level class outer class or the including class outer class name variable and the method for the outer class nested class name variable and the method for the nested class an instance of an inner class can only exist within the instance of its outer class instance of its outer class instance of an inner class the instance of an inner class has the direct access to the instance variable and the method of an instance of an outer class test nested java class test nested public static void main string or string exe from the external class top level new my top level empty create nested my top level my inner empty my inner ss inner class my top level private string top from the top level class my inner minimum new my inner public void create nested minimum ss inner top class my inner public void ss inner string system dot out print in classes method and the interface using the method working with the class and the object understanding the enums inheritance writing and invoking the constructor writing and using the inheritance understanding the enums useful when you want a variable to hold only a predefined set value. Define a enum variable into the two step. Define the enum type with the set name value. Define a variable to hold one of this value in a allotted credit card, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, allotted credit card, Visa, allotted credit card, Visa, system.out print I and the allowed credit card plus Visa method of the enum class subclass of the Java enum sum method of the enum class final boolean equals object final string to the string static enum value of the class string name enum color test Java public enum color test public static void main string colors new colors C color R colors three colors red system dot out print INC color class color enum three color blue red green three color the output of this code follow class method and interface using the method working with the class and the object understanding the enum inheritance writing and invoking the constructor writing and using the enable the program to write a class based on an already existing class the parent class and the superclass the subclass inherit use the non-private member of the superclass the keyword to derive the class from another class is extend class computer lab extend classroom test computer lab the Java class test computer lab public static void main string computer lab CS lab new computer lab CS lab print sheet info system dot out print total sheet in the class method and the interface using method working with the class and the object understanding the enums inheritance writing and invoking the constructor writing and using the inheritance writing and invoking the constructor the constructor of the class has the same name and as the class and has no explicit return type and the new operator allow the memory for the instance and execute the constructor to initialize the memory computer lab CS lab, a new computer lab, allocate the memory for the instance of the class computer lab, initialize the instance variable of the class computer lab, execute the constructor in the computer lab caution. If you don't provide any constructor for a class, you write the compiler provide the default constructor for that class. You can also define non-default constructor with a parameter. The constructor may be called from inside the class with another constructor using this or super from outside class this and super use this the to call another constructor in the same class and use the super to call the constructor in the super class must appear in the beginning of the constructor without a supercell or this call the compiler plays with a super call in the beginning of the constructor body before executing the body of the constructor in a class that is being instantiated. A constructor in the superclass must be executed. Test class the Java class state constructor public static void main my subclass my subclass my superclass in superclass my subclass system dot out print I and my superclass system dot out class my subclass inherited from the my superclass class my subbar subclass super non-default superclass system dot out print in subbar my superclass inherited my subclass extend my subclass this is the non-default constructor of the my subclass system dot add print in subbar my subclass string message example compiler error class a int my number one I class extend string name my name key point a constructor of the class at the same name as the class and no explicit return type. A class may have more or one constructor if a program defines the no constructor in a class, the compiler will add the default constructor with no argument. If there are one or more constructor defined in the class, the compiler will not provide any constructor. Key point a constructor may have zero or more parameter from the outside class. A constructor is always called the new operator from the inside the class. It may be called from the another constructor. Unlike the other method, the constructor are not inherited if there is no supercell in a constructor. The default supercell could place in by the constructor class method. Mm, an interface using method or working with the class and the object understanding the enums inheritance writing and invoking the constructor writing and using the inheritance writing and using the interface the Java support a single inheritance or subclass in the Java can You have only one superclass if a multiple inheritance is needed. Use an inheritance. An inheritance is a template that contains some method declaration, no implementation. The class that inheritance from an interface must provide the implementation for the method and declared in the inheritance interface declaration. You can define an interface by using the keyword interface. The method declared in an interface are the implicitly public and abstract. The data variables declared in an interface are inherently constant and are visible from all the instances and class implement interface. More feature a class can extend only one class by using the keyword extend, but it can inherit from the one interface by using the keyword implement, and inheritance can also extend one or more interface by using the keyword extend, and inheritance cannot implement any interface class in the interface parent one in p void print parent one interface parent 2 into void print 2 interface child extend parent 1 parent 2 in child class inheritance. Important point to about the interface. All the interface variable are inherently public, static, and the final all the interface method are inherently public and abstract because interface method are inherently abstract and they cannot be declared final native script AP and scrutinize. A class can extend another class and implement one or more interface in the same time. An interface cannot extend the class, an interface cannot implement another interface. Legal and illegal is class 1 extend interface, 1 extend class 1 implement. A class can extend another class, an interface can extend another interface. A class can implement an interface, a class can implement the multiple interface. A class cannot extend an interface, it has to implement. A class cannot extend the multiple inheritance. Reason an interface can extend the multiple inheritance. An interface cannot extend a class. An interface cannot implement a class. A class cannot extend one another class and implement one or more interface extend must be formed before the implement. ल आजलाई यति नै युनिट 3 फेरि हामी युनिट 4 पढ्नेछौँ 17 मिनट भयो